a lot of Americans have been left out of the wealth generation of the digital economy and these 25 million jobs. And how do we actually get more things like Intel into Ohio and creating jobs? And the book really focuses on how do you decentralize it. Antitrust is not some magic wand that would do that.
Right. So let's talk about that. How do you make that happen? And why, if it were a good idea, wouldn't the market be doing it anyway? I mean, in other words, are you fighting pretty fundamental forces of the market in forcing some of these companies to go into places where they have not found a competitive advantage to doing so?
You're structuring the market to incentivize that. For the longest time, here's what happened. The digital economy globalization took place, and you had people say, no problem, we're going to create wealth, there's going to be this knowledge economy, go move to the jobs. Well, the result of that is what we have, a huge wealth generation in my district, in New York, in Austin, in Seattle. Large parts of America, though, you've seen deindustrialization, job loss, people actually talking about the brain drain in rural America where their kids have to leave. And I think it was tone deaf to the importance people still put on community and led in part to conditions where you see the rise of populism. So I actually believe we should have place-based incentives. Part of it is simply investing. Why aren't we investing in digital grant universities and colleges like Abraham Lincoln did in the land grant colleges? Why aren't we having public-private partnerships in places like Ohio with Intel and Ohio State? Why aren't we doing that across the country? And I think we could do it. It's just been drift and neglect in taking advantage of all of the places there's talent. Mitch Kapoor says genius doesn't come restricted in a zip code.
Do you get pushback from your constituents? There is a kind of irony here. You are representing Silicon Valley, and you are at some level a critic of big tech.
I do. Just this morning, I got a call from one of the companies saying the CEO wasn't happy because I thought that there should be stronger antitrust legislation. But I'd say that there have to be well-crafted regulations and there has to be a balance. And I guess in a nutshell, my position is not let's just reflexively break up these companies, but it's also not let's allow things to continue the way they are. There have to be well-crafted regulations, and there has to be an economic incentive of decentralization. And that's the fundamental question. Do you believe that globalization should just go unchecked, lead to these concentrations of wealth, and have huge parts of the country left out, which has been the case for 30, 40 years? Or do you think that's exactly the conditions that will give rise to what Donald Trump exploited, and that we need actually government to play a steering role and make sure that globalization, digitization are working for left out communities? I believe if we don't do that, you're going to have the conditions of populism over and over again.